understanding the external environment. Okay, so it's very important for managers to understand the external environment. If they don't, firms can't successfully identify what opportunities they can grab hold of in order to plan effectively for the future. Therefore, firms usually assemble a team of specialists, and that team is continually collecting data from the environment. And that's called environmental scanning. Okay, now this team is designed, or their aim is to detect and assess trends that might influence the firm or its target market. Now they need to detect it early on. They don't want to get caught, once the trend is already running. They want to see far ahead. Okay, there's a trend coming. How can we respond to that trend? Okay, and they want to identify what opportunities there can be based on that trend, or also what potential threats there might be because of that trend. Now, the focus of this environmental scanning process is usually the external environment. Remember, the pestle factors. That's what this team will be scanning the whole time. All the pestle factors. And it's as I've said before, the forces outside the control or the influence of the firm. But factors that will have an impact on the marketing decisions of the firm and its eventual success. Okay, these variables can be broadly classified as either a threat or an opportunity, which I'm sure you've heard of before. Now, an opportunity is described as a consumer need that the firm can take advantage of profitably. That's usually what we're looking for as marketers. What potential needs are coming about in the environment that we can serve profitably? What needs are there? What new needs are there that consumers have that we can take advantage of? And a threat, obviously, is an unfavorable trend or development that can actually harm the firm. As an example, Heineken wanted to invest in South African breweries, but because of the risky political environment and economic uncertainty in South Africa, they decided it would be too risky. So they were scanning the political scenario of South Africa before they made their decision and decided not to because of that. Okay, the economic recession in 2008 and 9 saw VW, Volkswagen, not reaching their financial objectives, for example. And because of the outbreak of mad cow disease in the UK, it was a wonderful opportunity for ostrich meat in South Africa. They had a 10-fold increase in demand because they were exporting their meat to the UK, because the people in the UK were not eating the beef because of the breakout of mad cow disease. So they were eating all our South African ostrich meat, and the ostrich farmers were making a fortune. Now, the ostrich farmers wouldn't have known that if they weren't scanning the global economic and even environmental environment. Okay, methods of environmental scanning. Environmental scanning ought to be an ongoing process. Very important. Some activities associated with environmental scanning include studying current events and going to seminars, analyzing the speeches of political leaders, like the budget speech every year, reading and analyzing management consulting firms and financial institutions, the analyses of management consulting firms. So often financial institutions like FNB or ABSA will bring out certain reports as well as management consulting fees, and it's important to read those. Collecting demographic data from government departments like surveys on the census, where are people living, so you can find out, are your consumers moving around, where are they now living, so you can target them more effectively. Analyzing trade figures, and following discussions on relevant blogs, very important, blogs that relate to your industry. And of course, collecting information on economic indicators like the exchange rates and oil and gold and things like that. Okay, now how this data is analyzed and interpreted is actually the real challenge. Some firms will build a long-term alternative scenarios and then formulate contingency plans. Like scenarios is basically things that could potentially happen in the future. So they say, okay, if this happens, then we're going to use plan A. But if this happens, then we're going to use plan B. That's what a contingency plan is. It's a plan for a different scenario, potential future. But if this happens, we're going to use plan C. Okay, so that's how they kind of use that data. And they will also ask experts on their opinion of what might happen, because usually experts are older people, they've seen a lot, they've got a lot of experience, they're mature, they can in a way predict what's going to happen based on the variables. And that's called the Delphi technique. Okay, now the advantage of environmental scanning is that it encourages managers to think in terms of the long term. Very important. Long-term thinking is required if you're in business. They must translate their gut feeling. I think this might happen, or I think that might happen. But they must develop it into clear strategic issues using the data. And to think strategically about the opportunities and threats in the external environment. Okay, let's look at opportunities and threats. Now, the need for convenient products and services is a growing trend amongst consumers. Obviously, consumers want convenience. That's a very big trend. For example, Mr. Delivery is a convenient way to get takeaway food from all the different restaurants. Woolworths offers to-go meals in their shops as well as their combination shops with Engine. You see these ready-made sandwiches and all kinds of ready-made meals. And then there's even a pharmacy in clicks these days, so that you don't have to go to many shops. You can just go to one shop and you get everything there. Okay? It's all convenience-related stuff. Okay, you can even shop online from Pick and Pay and they deliver it to you. Also very convenient. And of course, you can even buy clothing online now, like from Zando. All of these companies are following the convenience trend. There we go. They have identified trends in the marketing environment and they've decided to offer opportunities that could be profitably utilized and have done a great job of satisfying customer needs. Those companies have done very well. They've analyzed the environment. They've seen, hey, people want convenience. Let's offer them that. And they're satisfying those needs and they're making money. Sometimes, however, the changing environment can certainly pose a threat. And when it does, it's important to try and convert that challenge into an opportunity. Now, there are many ways to assess environmental variables and trends. One way is using the Boston Consulting Group matrix. And we'll discuss that in more depth in chapter 14. Another is to use the SWOT analysis. And SWOT stands for strengths and weaknesses, which are internal. What are the strengths and weaknesses of the business? And opportunities and threats are external. What are the opportunities and threats in the environment, outside of us, in the macro environment? Remember I showed you the internal versus the external? Now internal has to do with strengths and weaknesses. The external environment has to do with opportunities and threats. Okay, there we go. SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Okay, if a potential opportunity or threat is recognized in the external environment, remember, in the pestle environment, the following questions can be asked. Do we have the strengths required to utilize the opportunity or overcome the threat? Do we have the strengths needed? And what are our weaknesses if we do attempt to utilize the opportunity or overcome the threat?